Hi there, and welcome to the JAMstack, a complete guide to React e-commerce. My name is Zachary Reese, and I could not be more excited than to be sharing this with you guys. We're going to dive straight into the most incredible modern full stack for building websites and web applications. Together, we're going to be building a complete online store from the ground up, so you'll see firsthand how surprisingly simple things can be with the JAMstack. We'll get into more of the specifics about what this is all going to look like in the next couple videos, but for now, I just want to stick to a broad overview of what we're going to be covering in this course. To start off our introduction to this new way of building web applications, let's take a look at a quote from one of the co-founders of Netlify. He describes the JAMstack as a new way of building websites and apps that delivers better performance, higher security, lower cost of scaling, and a better developer experience. What this means for us is that we are going to have much simpler applications that are much easier for us to think about and to work on, while at the same time providing the absolute best user experience possible today with its cutting-edge performance and security. Like I said, we're going to dive into more about what the JAMstack actually is and how we'll be using it in this application and course in the next couple videos. So right now, let's just take a look at a broad generalization of the previous way of building web applications and the new way proposed by the JAMstack. First, let's take a look at the previous way of putting together web applications. We'll refer to this as the monolithic architecture. We call it the monolithic architecture because you can see from the one big surrounding operating system box that the entire application is held within one single container, or one monolithic structure. This one system is the sole mode of interaction between the user and the application. You can see here in the diagram with the arrows drawn between the computer screen and the operating system layer that when a user makes a request to a monolithic application, the application has to first process your request through the web server, make any queries to the database that might be necessary, add in the appropriate scripts, and then send the loaded application back to your browser. This is obviously going to take some amount of time to perform all these operations, and depending on your configuration, what protocols you're using, and the structure of the information you have, things like your database queries might end up taking actually a pretty long time, and within that time, your user is sitting there waiting for something to happen. Oftentimes, the information in the database might actually not be changing very frequently. However, every single time a request is made to this server, even if it's the exact same request it just sent out, even if the information hasn't changed whatsoever, it's still going to have to make a query to the database and process all that information before your user can get back a response. Among other things, the JAMstack intends to break this apart and simplify and optimize the process. So if we take a look at what a JAMstack application looks like, you can see it's a slightly different picture. With the JAMstack, our browser isn't directly talking to a giant web server. Its actual first stop is a CDN, a content delivery network, which is essentially a distributed set of servers all over the world so that anytime a user connects to your application, they're going to be connecting to the fastest possible location. If you live in the United States and that's where you are hosting your web application in a monolithic structure, then somebody in China would have to make their request and go all the way to the server in the United States and then get sent all the way back before they could receive a request. However, with a CDN, since you have a globally distributed set of servers, your user is very likely to be able to connect to one much closer to them than with any other previous architecture. So the CDN ensures that you get very fast connection speeds, but then what makes the JAMstack even faster is that it then only serves static files. Okay, and that is a little bit of a confusing term that we're actually going to be getting into in one of the next couple videos, breaking down what is actually a static versus dynamic site, because it may not be what you think. But for right now, let's just think of a static site as just pure HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. It's just our static assets hosted directly on the CDN and sent straight to the user. So we're not requesting this giant web server that's having to make database queries and then put all the pages together. No, the static files of a JAMstack are all of your assets already pre-rendered and sent directly to your user. This cuts out all the time that we were waiting on our web server to process and our database to make queries, and instead serves content immediately and directly to our users. This is one of the biggest factors and advantages of the JAMstack. Now, where that static site is coming from is our JavaScript, APIs, and markup. And that is what the JAMstack stands for. So it's not a specific set of tools. Rather, it's a set of concepts, which, when implemented in an application, constitutes a JAMstack application. So there are actual multiple different JAMstack stacks. So in one of the next videos, we'll be taking a look at exactly what stack we will be using. Until then, hopefully I've at least caught your interest and got you thinking about what the JAMstack is going to mean for us. Like I said at the beginning, we are going to be building a full-featured e-commerce application from scratch in this course. So that means we're going to be covering everything from authentication to handling the inventory of our products, handling reviews and ratings, favoriting products so our users have quicker access to their most purchased items, subscriptions so that items purchased regularly can be automated, cart and checkout, which we will be building completely from scratch, handling payments using Strapi to ensure security, and even handling things like saving multiple payment methods. At the end of this course, you will not only know all of this and way more, you'll then be able to completely start your own online stores, as well as have a completely flushed out understanding of how to build out your own extra features from where we leave off. This is going to be one of the most advanced and fully featured React e-commerce architectures that I have seen out on the web at all. So I am so excited to be able to share this with you guys and to see what you'll be able to create afterwards. Just like with any class, there are a few requirements, just a couple though. First being that you do, of course, need to know JavaScript. That is the J in the JAMstack, and of course we'll be using React.js in this course, so knowing JavaScript is a must. Although you definitely don't need to be an expert, you just have to have a good basic understanding of the language. The other requirement is, of course, basic React.js. So I'm really not going to be teaching just React itself. I'm not really going to be diving into all the basics. I expect you to already be at least familiar with the concepts of components and then handling props and state. But if you do have a good basic foundation in React, then that's all you need to get everything out of this course and take your skills to an entirely new level. I only have one other requirement in this course, but I personally think it's the most important one, and that is that you are ready to learn, because we have a lot to cover in this course, and I'm really excited about it. This is a lot of really new information. I think the JAMstack architecture is really amazing, and it's just solved so many problems for me and has made so many things easy and simple that I wouldn't have even considered before. So I'm so excited to be able to share that with all you guys and see what you think as well. So if you're ready to learn, if you meet all these requirements, then you're all set for a complete guide to React e-commerce.